About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. On the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss now. I'm done living life with the lights out, died with my own doubts.
Good evening, everyone. It's Jim here at TutorTu HQ, and a warm welcome to our latest AQA A-Level Sociology Revision Blast. I think it's number 14, I think. Might be number 15. Yeah. Amazing how many we've done. I think you're right. You're right, Craig. Craig and Duncan are with us, surprisingly, tonight. Two faces familiar to lots of students who've joined us live and on replay in the previous 14 sessions. And a little known fact, but today is Karl Marx's 203rd birthday, and in his honour, what are we going to be doing, Duncan?
Well, I'd love to say Marxism, but unfortunately, we're going to be looking at social action theories today, which is a topic that sometimes students can find quite tricky. And we're going to be looking at social action theories across a number of topic areas, not just as in a sort of theory, classic theory and methods type perspective. We'll think about some of the social action type theorists you come across throughout the course, with a range of activities. So we're going to have some multiple choice quizzes, different types of activities. So if you're watching live, it would be great if you could join in the chat window. If you could, if it's a multiple choice quiz, for example, you can just type in A, B, C, or D. Some of the other questions we'll ask you to do a bit more. We'll explain that as they come. If you're watching on catch up, then if you want, you can pause the video, have a bit longer on some of the challenges, but please don't phone in. Because you may still be charged. Okay, right.
And if you do, use the short number, of course, rather than the long number. Oh, and a quick word. We're also live tonight for the first time on Facebook. So if you're watching on either the Facebook group or a TutorTu Facebook page, you can also get involved because Duncan and Craig will see your responses. Just use the comments box in the live stream video there. That will appear on the live chat feed that Duncan and Craig can see how you're getting on. So yeah, great stuff. Should we make a start?
Yeah, let's get going.
Let's go for it.
I think it's Craig first up.
It is our first activity today is a picture grid. With the picture grid, what we do is we give you 6 questions. Every time a question is answered, it reveals a part of a picture. What you need to do is you need to obviously answer each individual question, but also you need to be able to sort of like identify the person behind the picture, behind the questions. Bear in mind, this is about social action theories. So if you just answer if you put your answer into the chat window on the right hand side of the screen if you're watching on YouTube, or into the comments if you're watching on the Facebook group. So can we see our first question, please, Jim? Okay, so this is an approach that was suggested by Goffman, that people act out different roles in society. Which approach is this? Which social action approach is this? It's an approach suggested by Goffman that people will act out different roles in society. Act being a big clue there, I think. Being a big clue. It is a tough one, this one. Oh, close.
Yeah, very close to it there.
Very close. Very close to response there. You certainly got the first part of that right. Drama.
First 5 letters. First, 6 letters.
Yeah.
Oh, someone on Facebook.
The dramaturgical model. Yes, it is. It's the dramaturgical approach to society. Goffman suggested that basically we are actor and audience, and that we interpret our behaviours based upon the roles we play in a social context. So let's look at our first piece of the picture. Yeah, that's a dead giveaway, isn't it? Is that really? Yeah. Okay. What are the lesser known?
I think it's a telly.
It does look like a TV, yeah. What are the lesser known kind of or newer perspectives we could look at? Perspective of the family suggested by Carol Smart. Falls under another kind of form of social action theory. Bit of a tough one.
Yeah. It occurred to me people might go with a sort of broader sort of area than what I know is on the card.
They can do. They can. I mean, I think they can do. I think because that is seen as being part of kind of an interactionist approach, I think we'd probably take that response as well if they went for one of those 2 responses.
Yeah.
Perspective of the family suggested by by Smart. Yes, somebody's put up their personal life perspective, sociology of personal life. Smart actually suggested what was called the connectedness thesis, which was kind of the opposite to the individuation thesis that was suggested by the likes of Beck and Giddens and things like that. So let's reveal our next piece. A shoulder. So there you go. All sociologists have shoulders, I think.
We might be able to guess gender by the shirt. I'm thinking it might be.
Well, I don't know. I know.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our next one. The approach taken by Cicero when looking at the negotiation of justice. What type of sociologist was Cicero? What type of approach do you associate Aaron Cicero with? And when we look at the idea of the negotiation of justice.
I'm being pointed out that women do wear shirts too, and this is of course true. But it looks like a man's shoulder to me. That's all I'm saying. Right? Yeah. Sorry, Aaron Cicero.
Aaron Cicero and Crime and Deviance looked at the negotiation of justice. Okay, it's proven a tough one. There's like 1 or 2 coming through.
Shall we have a look?
Let's reveal our answer. It is the phenomenology. Yeah, again, my pronunciation of words goes well. Oh, I always remember phenomenology by that Muppet song, Phenomena. Do, 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 do. You know, there was a YouTube video that went around for a while. Sort of like, this is how you teach students phenomenology, and they do the thing for the Muppets, Phenomena. Do, 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 do. Yes, it was phenomenological approach that was taken by Cicero. Let's reveal our picture. Oh, this should be a giveaway.
Yeah, no, actually, if you knew, if you've seen a picture of the person, you'd get them from this one.
Yeah.
I think.
because we've got to admit, so like whenever this person is very recognizable when you put in, it doesn't look very different at all. Even when you look at pictures of him in the 50s and 60s, it really doesn't look that much different. Okay. Anyone responding? Sorry. Let's move on to our next question. No one's got that one yet. Somebody said labeling. Okay. So who might we associate with labeling? Oh, sorry. This is the question. Yeah. Approach associated with Howard Becker.
Yes.
2 clues.
Well done, Yoshiro. Yeah,
it is the labeling theory. Yeah. So let's move on. We've got that one already. We like to give away at least one answer a lesson, don't we? And now we've revealed that another part of this person. Who is this person? Sociologist who first suggested the importance of symbols in everyday life. A very early kind of social action theorist, associated with a certain kind of approach of social action. Who suggested the importance of symbols in everyday life? Okay, couple coming through there. Let's reveal our answer, see if they're right. Yep, George Herbert Mead, G.H. Mead, who suggested the idea that sort of like people interpret society through looking at symbols, and this falls into like the idea of symbolic interactionism. And our final, so let's reveal the next piece. Doesn't give you much more apart from the fact that the person has 2 shoulders. 2 shoulders. It's actually a piano. It's a piano.
It wasn't a telly. It was a piano. That's actually a big clue.
It is a big clue when you consider what
what
their
Becker
background
did.
in jazz.
Oh, sorry. What? I just
That's
gave
even
it away. What the
that's an
person
even bigger
did.
clue.
That's even bigger. What if you think what he did other than sociology?
Particularly when you consider sort of like his first theory, his first studies were done with around the labeling of jazz musicians, weren't they?
Yeah,
The Outsiders as part of jazz musicians.
Yeah.
Did Marx play the piano? I don't know. I don't know. He might have. Okay, theories associated with looking glass self. This might be one more for the psychologists, really, I think. Who suggested the idea of the looking glass self?
Quite a lot of the social action stuff does. There's a big overlap with social psychology, isn't there? And
there definitely is. I mean, I was just watching the psychology aggression section and sort of like seeing how much we do cross over in certain aspects. Okay, so let's look at the final answer there. It was Charles Cooley and Ideas of the Looking Glass Self. And let's reveal who it is. Obviously, pontificating there by the piano.
We've given it away, really, so I'm sure someone's
given it away. It is
quickly.
Howard Becker. There you go, Howard Becker, author of The Outsiders, key study in crime and deviance, and also the ideal pupil in education, where they found that sort of like middle school teachers in the USA, high school teachers in the USA, had an image of an ideal pupil.
And
so let's move on to your.
Yeah, I was just saying, himself an accomplished jazz pianist as well as a.
He was,
a sociologist.
He was.
Okay. Oh, Sarah Gosling came in with Cooley and about the looking glass self. Well done, Sarah. Okay, so this next activity, I'm going to ask you to maybe type a bit more into the box here. Going to get you thinking. I'm going to ask you to come up with 3 things that social action theorists consider when they are conducting research. So we're making a bit of a link with research methods here. When you think about research, we often think about the practical things and the ethical things and then the theoretical issues. And one of the things you might think about is the person a social action theorist or a structuralist, and does that impact what research methods they might use? So what sorts of things do social action theorists think about or worry about or need to think about when they're conducting research? So you'll have about 30 seconds to just think about a few of these. So let's set the timer off and see what you come up with. So just type them into the chat window. You can do them one at a time. You don't have to wait till you've got 3. You might think about what methods they prefer and why. What are they looking for? Okay, smaller groups. That's good. Okay, so we've had one suggestion. I'll give you another minute, maybe, just to see what you come up with. Another 30 seconds rather than another minute. That's a bit. Otherwise, we could have just put a minute and a half timer on there, couldn't we?
Do I have to get the guitar out again? Do I have to get the
Yeah.
guitar out again for the music?
Yeah, you can put a variation on the theme.
Okay.
See if we come up with anything else. So we've got smaller groups there. So they perhaps wouldn't be as concerned about things like getting a big sample or a big representative sample. Why not? What is it that they're looking at? So yes, smaller groups. What are they after? What do they think is important? What are they more interested in? Okay, a couple of things coming through, but shall we have a look at a few that I've suggested? But I'm sure you'll come up with more and other things. So great key term here, which is always good to use, verstehen, a German word. In German, it just means to understand, but we use it. It sort of came into sociology through Weber, and we use it to mean a deep, empathetic understanding. And so when social action theorists are conducting their research, they're trying to get that. They're trying to find that. They're wanting to see things from the perspective of the people they're researching. Which Craig mentioned phenomenology earlier, and obviously that's kind of this people's subjective experiences. Is interesting. It's what these sorts of sociologists want to find out about. Linked to that, very closely linked to that, is they have a preference for methods that produce qualitative data, because it's through that qualitative data that you can find that sort of detail and that sort of understanding. If you find out that 57% of people think that Boris Johnson is whatever, like from an opinion poll or something, that doesn't give you deep verstehen, it doesn't give you deep empathetic understanding. It's just a number. You don't understand why, and so you want to find out why. What is it that people are thinking about a particular issue? And then also, they are likely to reject methods that attempt to be scientific, because they don't tend to. This isn't necessarily true of all social action theories, but they wouldn't tend to think that you would be able to produce kind of models and things that would give you that would give you social facts. They're more interested in your kind of social constructions, etc. And so they would tend to think that sociology not only isn't a science, but that possibly that it shouldn't attempt to be. So that's an area that we might consider there too. Okay, so well done, guys. I'm going to hand back to Craig now for an on-balance activity.
Okay, thank you, Duncan. One of the key kind of things you've got to consider when you're looking at social action theories is how useful social action theories are for contemporary society compared to structural theory. So a potential question you could get, say, for example, as a 20 marker, could be evaluate the view that social action theories offer a better explanation of contemporary issues. So this is what we're going to look at in the on balance activity. We're going to look at a couple of arguments that agree with this idea that social action theories are better, offer a better explanation of contemporary issues, and a couple of reasons why why structural theories might offer a better explanation of contemporary issues. So we're going to start with the social action theories. Why are social action theories useful in contemporary society? If you just put your answers down in the chat window on the right hand side, if you're on YouTube, or in the comments if you're following us on Facebook Live. And think of some of the ways in which social action theories really are useful for use in contemporary society. Look at some of the advantages of using social action theories, when we're studying people in contemporary society. So let's have a look at a couple coming through.
It's a kind of classic debate, isn't it? You could get an essay on this, couldn't you, quite nicely, evaluate the view that social action theories are particularly useful.
You can even turn it around and sort of like say, well, why might social action theories be better suited to studying some of the issues that we have in contemporary society, particularly when you look at the way society is constructed in the 21st century. Some of the ideas that we think about as being part of modernity, where people were very similar. There wasn't as much change. Obviously, in contemporary society, we may be looking at, a greater diversity of groups, for example. That could be something that we discuss. Okay, so we've got somebody here to reflect the diversity within the population. Yep, that's a good response. We do have greater diversity, and of course, greater diversity means greater diversity of experiences. So we have to try and understand why those people's, we have to try and understand the meanings and motivations behind those people's behaviors. And we have to try and see the world through their eyes, if you like. Any responses coming through? Let's have a look at...
Hi Frank.
Hi, Frank. Let's have a look at those. So, linked into this idea of greater diversity in society, social action theories do give a voice to those that are often unheard from in society. If we go all the way back to Becker and the Outsiders, this was part of the concept, sort of like of the rise of kind of social action theories, is to look at those people who don't normally get heard in society. And, Becker, in that kind of famous debate between Becker and Goldner, you have this idea that Becker suggested that we should always be on the side of the underdog as sociologists, that we should really always look to those whose voice isn't heard. And also another reason why it's useful for contemporary society is it helps us to understand the meanings and motivations of individuals in relation to social issues. So instead of using kind of more structural methods, and particularly with structural methods using more positivist methodology, looking at statistics, they will tell us what is happening, but we need to know why it's happening. And I think using social action theories gives us a better understanding of why people are motivated to act in a certain way and what different things shape those behaviors. Possibly a slightly easier side of that debate is, why should we use structural theories? So why do structural theories offer better explanations of issues in society, contemporary issues? And if we think about structural theories, they tend to see society as being divided based upon certain characteristics, and that might be something you consider. Why might structural theories be better used in contemporary society? We have got a delay because somebody's just sent me a message saying, "Is the shoulder Becker?" So we must have a delay.
That's a big delay. Yeah,
that was true, yeah. Okay, so let's look at some of these. So structural issues, things like gender inequality, social class inequality, and ethnic inequality still persist. And this is why perhaps we may still use structural approaches to look at society. I mean, particularly things like Marxism and feminism and looking at the conflict within society. And also we tend to think that a macro view of society is preferable to highlight some of these social issues, particularly when we're looking at things like poverty and the percentage of people who are below the poverty line. And we will look at those statistically rather than sort of like the individual experiences. Although we can also use structural, we can have an initial piece of research that is done from a structural approach and then follow that up by looking in depth a little bit more by using a social action approach and interactionist or interpretivist methods. Yeah. So I shall pass over to Duncan now for sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think what another area you could think about there is the purpose of doing research, and if it's perhaps to inform social policy, for example, then if you're wanting to prove a kind of evidence basis for needing to for what you're doing, then that kind of structural, large scale, macro type of thing tends to be more convincing as an evidence base for social policy.
Yeah, it also acts as a greater motivation for political parties, trying to get consent. Kind of get consent of those that they that they represent. So they would more likely to be used structural approaches to understanding contemporary issues. But we'll move on to your activity list, which is Kim's game.
Okay, so some of you may have encountered this activity before. We have done it before, but just in case you haven't, I'll give a quick explanation for it. It is a memory game, essentially. So it's just some key terms relating to social action theory are about to come on the screen. As you can see, every 6 seconds, a key term will disappear. And then they'll come back on with one missing, and you've got to try and work out which one's missing. So essentially, you have to try and commit all these key terms to memory so that you can spot which one's missing. When they come back, they will be in a different arrangement. So don't just try and remember which what was on the particular square. It's not a memory. It's not a spatial memory. It's a way of remembering the key terms. This is like used for training MI5 agents or something like that. So let's see how you do at that. Okay, so here we go. Here are your key terms. Watch them vanish. Quite a few of these ones we've already mentioned. I've already forgotten what was in the top left one. Okay, so when they come back on, can you spot which of those key social action terms is missing? See how you do. And do we know what all these terms mean while you're looking to see which one's missing? Any there you're unfamiliar with, you can mention in the chat window and we'll try and help out. Obviously, we've encountered quite a few of them already this evening. I think the ones we haven't mentioned so far today are master status and moral panic. Moral panic, I think, will be familiar to a lot of you. Oh, Amara's come in and said labeling is missing. I definitely can't see it there. So providing it was on the screen, I think that's going to be a right answer. Shall we have a look? Well done. Very good. Yeah, labeling was the missing term. So a number of key terms there. It's a good way of committing some key terms to memory. As I say, if there are any of those you're unfamiliar with, do just jot a quick question down in the chat window. But we shall move on, and I shall hand back to Craig for some MCQs, second to last activity tonight.
Yeah, nice multiple choice question. Okay, so which of the following sociologists is seen as being the father of social action theories? If you just put your correct, you put what you think is the correct answer in the right-hand chat box, or make your comments on Facebook Live. Is it A, Karl Marx, whose 203rd birthday it is today? Is it B, Emil Durkheim, who I'm not quite sure when his birthday is off the top of my head? Is it C, Talcott Parsons, or is it D, Max Weber, whose birthday was a couple of weeks ago, which we mentioned on this on this broadcast as well? It was Weber's birthday a few weeks ago. I got my card, but you never thanked me or anything. Never mind.
He got me a barbecue.
We're going to go onto this Weber and barbecues thing again. Just because I've got a Charles Murray barbecue, or maybe I'm not going to say anything about Charles Murray. Let's not. Okay, so which of the following sociologists is seen as being the father of social action theories?
We've got Durkheim's birthday as well. Yeah.
Durkheim's birthday, 15th of April.
Oh, very recent.
Thank you. Yeah, 15th of April. It obviously fell sort of like on a day that wasn't a Monday or a Wednesday. Never mind.
So Weber.
Yes, the answer is Weber. Max Weber is seen as being the father of social action theories. Weber's ideas sort of like moved over to the US sort of like in the 1940s, 1950s, with a translation by C. Wright Mills. And that's how sort of like that influenced the ideas of social action theories and they kicked on. Which of the following approaches is not a form of social action theory? Is it A, New Right? Is it B, phenomenology? Is it C, symbolic interactionism? And D, labeling theory? Which of those is not a form of social action theory?
If you've been paying close attention up till this point, this should be
a
walk in the park.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know it's not B because, like I've mentioned,
said that a lot.
I'm hoping that there'll be some teachers singing that tomorrow, or next time they do symbolic phenomenology or ever. Which of the following approaches is not a form of social action theory? Phenomenology we know is. Amara's come in, yeah. Symbolic interactionism, is that a social action theory? Yep. Is labeling theory in social action theory? Yep. So the correct answer must be, yeah, that's right. It is the new right. The new right is not a form of social action theory.
All popular in Chicago, though. Both social action theory and the new right popular in Chicago.
Yeah, totally different kind of schools, though, weren't they? One was kind of school of sociology, one school of economics.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine they hung out too much.
No,
really.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
A couple opposites. Okay, so which of the following terms refers to an individual's ability to adapt the way they present themselves? Is it A, impression management, B, the Hawthorne effect, C, social desirability bias, or D, the looking glass self? How do we refer to an individual's ability to adapt the way they present themselves? Adapt could be a bit of a clue there.
Yeah. This is one of those. I was going to say this is one of those multiple choice questions where you could say it's a bit mean because all of them are, are sort of in the right sort of area, aren't they? But one is definitely what is being described there in the question.
The people who are going through the responses are correct. It is impression management. The idea that we can change the way in which we present ourselves to make ourselves look favorably. Hawthorne effects, obviously, is we change our behavior when we're being watched. Social desirability bias is we may give correct answers to make ourselves look good. And the looking glass self is the way we understand ourselves through our interactions with others and through how people interact with us. Question number 4. Which of the following sociologists would you associate with ethnomethodology, another form of social action theory? Is it A, Ulrich Beck, B, Alfred Schutz, got to be careful saying that, C, Max Weber, or D, Harold Garfinkel?
I liked his songs with Paul Simon.
Yeah, Simon and Garfinkel.
Yeah.
Simon and Garfinkel, yeah. Breaching experiment over troubled water. Only people who know sociology will get that one, I think. Never mind. Okay, is it Beck? Is it Schutz? Is it Weber? Is it Garfinkel? Okay, so we've got a couple of responses through. Some people saying it's Schutz, some people saying it's Weber. They are incorrect. Weber is associated more with Weberian sociology. Alfred Schutz is phenomenology. Beck is kind of late modernity. And Harold Garfinkel was ethnomethodology and the ideas sort of like behind things like breaching experiments that we've mentioned a minute ago. And question number 5. Which sociologist suggested that neither social action nor structures could exist without the other, what called duality of structure? Was it A, Herbert Blumer, B, Howard Becker, C, Anthony Giddens, or D, Talcott Parsons? Bit of a tough one. This is always a nice one I like to use in that kind of structure versus social action question as that kind of middle ground when you're making a conclusion and you come into the conclusion that will actually both need to exist.
I'm going to give a clue. If it was this person's birthday and you sent them a card, they might actually open the card and put it up on their mantelpiece. That's my clue compared with all the other birthdays we've mentioned.
Yeah.
Although it was in January, so that's no good.
You probably did send this person a card, didn't you? Okay, Blumer, Becker, Giddens, or Parsons. We've got a couple of responses, bit of a mixed bag of responses there. The answer is C, Anthony Giddens. Blumer, of course, sort of like was it was a social action theorist. Becker, again, we've talked about with labeling theory. Giddens, obviously, a suggested structuration theory, which is the idea of duality of structure. The structure cannot exist without action. Parsons was slightly influenced by Weber at a later date in his career, but he never really kind of proposed the idea that they couldn't exist without each other. And so that finally finishes our multiple choice question round. And over to Duncan for our last round tonight.
Okay, so this is our last round. It's the first one time we've used this for A-level sociology. It's called a word association. And I've gone for the longest possible word we can fit on the screen. And it's one we've encountered before. I was anticipating having to explain phenomenology, but I'm pleased that I don't have to because it's come up lots already. So we've got phenomenology, and we've got a number of letters. And what you have to do is try and come up with a key term or name or person's name that starts with each letter in the in there. Tutor to you has been giving some suggestions there in the chat window, so you can do them one at a time. You don't have to wait till you've got one for every single one. I'll tell you the main problem with this one is that you've got to try and come up with 3 words that begin with O, and I struggled, I have to say. So see how you do with this. Preferably words that relate in some way to social action theories and certainly to sociology, but yes, social action theory. See what you come up with across the whole spec though, so there's lots to go with. And you have 60 seconds to come up with as many words as you can. Let's see how you do. So words or names. And to make it slightly easier, you can use surname or first name.
So, yeah, P for Parsons.
H for Howard.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say Parsons, but yeah. No, Parsons.
No,
Yeah,
Parsons isn't
Parsons
ideal,
is
but
functionalism.
Oh,
Palmer? I mean, Sue Palmer.
I'm assuming Sue.
Yeah. C Palmer. P question mark.
That kind of thing.
You could think about, for one of the E's, you could think about one of the approaches we've talked about.
Yeah. Oh,
That's very loud. M for master status.
Yeah. G for Goffman.
Goffman.
That's a good one. Of course, you could have gone with phenomenology for P. Is that cheating? There's a big clue for that one on the screen. We've got Herbert. I'm assuming for
Herbert.
Mead. Oh, yeah. You could use him twice, couldn't you? Because you could use it for Rachel for him.
George Herbert Mead as well.
Symbolic interactions. Y is difficult. We had Y in when we did this for GCSE as well. Someone came up with Udall actually, which was quite good. And Young. Yeah.
Jock Young.
It wasn't. Yeah. Shall we have a look at what I came up with? But I think you've already come up with some better ones. So P, I thought perhaps the pure relationship. You can link that with Giddens and if we're thinking about families. H for Howard, Howard Becker, but sure we could have some other good ones here. We've got E, ethnography, and also we had ethnomethodology earlier, didn't we? And either of those you could use there very nicely. Now I'm cheating a bit with neo-Marxism and neo-Weberian, no neo-Weberian later for my ends. Did anyone else come up with a better N? My thought with neo-Marxism is that one of the things that you can see with some contemporary neo-Marxists is that they've been neo-Marxist sociologists is that they've been influenced by social action theories, and you can see that particularly perhaps in their methodology. Observations is a nice method that social action theorists might choose to use. I think we had Mead, someone went for Mead, didn't they? I think earlier, or perhaps they went for Herbert and meant Mead. But yeah, you could have had him for him as well. Went for epistemology.
I'll let you explain that one.
Oh, thank you. So it's about
ontology.
And there's ontology later as well. So epistemology is the philosophy of knowledge, of how we know stuff. And social action theorists would suggest that we kind of can't know social facts. Perhaps some would say that. And so it's an interesting part of the debate there. Neo-Weberian, so modern people who follow Weber's ideas to some extent. Objectivity is kind of not what social action theorists tend to be looking at, but it's obviously part of the discussion and part of the debate, sort of the debate between objective and subjective ideas. Of course, Weber wanted people to be objective, the researchers to be objective, and to not let their values interrupt them while they were carrying out research, even though their values should influence what they research. Labeling theory. Nice one. Ontology, we always sort of talk about alongside epistemology. It's the philosophy of existence. And so what exists and how do we know is sort of the kind of philosophy underpinning research in many ways, and does lead you to that kind of macro micro debate. I think someone went with Goffman for G, didn't they? And just saw a suggestion of Giddens as well. I copped out with youth culture for Y, but I think there were some better ones that came up while we were discussing that. So well done. Some names came up, didn't they, which were good ones. Okay, so that's quite a fun activity to just try yourself. You can come up with any relevant, nice long word, ethnocentrism or something like that, and then try and see how many relevant key terms and names you can come up with. It's just a good way of sort of jogging your memory and accessing things that are there in your
Knowledge
head.
recall.
Absolutely.
Knowledge recall is what we call it, isn't it now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, it makes for a great key terms list, that, doesn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, if Karl
Well done,
Marx was alive today, Craig and Duncan, I think he would have been thrilled that he managed to get a mention in a live revision blast on social action theories.
I'm sure he would, yeah.
Especially considering the amount of times we mentioned Weber, and there's always this sociological argument about debate between Weber and the ghost of Marx that always comes up. So I'm sure he would have. He
If
probably
he was
would
alive
like us
today,
to be Weberian.
he could have had a debate, not his ghost, couldn't he? He could have just had an actual debate with Weber.
Yeah.
Of course, what would have been interesting is to see whether he was on YouTube or Facebook, but I suppose we'll never know.
No.
More
FaceTube is the opium of the masses.
He's probably.
FaceTube.
I think Marx would be a Twitch man myself. I think he'd be on Twitch. That'd be my guess.
Oh right.
Superb stuff.
It
Well,
was-
that was a fantastic session. We've covered a heck of a lot. Yeah, just 35 minutes there of lots of knowledge retrieval and other activities on social action theories. Superb stuff. Don't forget, if you found it useful, if you found the session useful, give us a thumbs up on both Facebook and YouTube. And if you go to tutor2.net/live, you can go back and cover all the previous revision sessions, including downloading the PowerPoints if you want to work through them from A-level Sociology. I think our plan is to start taking a look at a little bit more of a focus on sort of year 12 topics over the next week or two, particularly to support year 12 students as they get ready for some assessments later on this term, but also a useful recap for year 13 students. So what we will do is let you know on the YouTube channel and on the Tutor Sociology site very soon what the next topic or two is going to be, and hopefully be able to join us for one of those. Have I missed anything out, Craig, Duncan? Anything to miss?
I don't think so. No,
I don't think so. I think I don't think so.
That's a no then. Fantastic. Great stuff. Many thanks as always. I know they're very, very busy at this time of year to Duncan and Craig for putting the session together and delivering it. We're looking forward to our next session. Hopefully you can join us for that. And until we meet again on a live stream, we'll wish you all the best with your studies and your assessments. Hope they go well. And we'll see you next time. See you later.
Good luck.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.